Following the announcements made today by China and the European Union, things are officially going to get crazy with XRP. That's the reason I'm creating this video. Since we all know that every day is a whole roller coaster, I want to share with you all the most recent and perhaps not so recent news that is circulating. Since negotiations are beginning to stagnate, let's start by discussing the European Union, which expects U.S. tariffs to stay in place. Despite Trump's claims that they are making great strides on tariffs, the European Union is essentially saying that these tariffs will not be removed anytime soon, since they are unable to strike a compromise. What the European Union has to say now is fascinating. It's intriguing given Trump's rhetoric that they have essentially stated that he does not genuinely want to reach an agreement and that this is merely a pretext for imposing these tariffs in the first place. I'm curious about your thoughts here because if this continues, it will undoubtedly have a significant effect on inflation, which is at least in the near term the exact reverse of what Trump claims he wants. The S&P 500 has also declined as a result of the EU's announcement that tariffs will not be lifted despite the lack of progress on tariff stocks. The S&P saw some quite significant corrections, dropping from almost 5,500 right here to 54. Thus, this will undoubtedly have a significant impact on the current futures markets for the S&P 500 and, of course, cryptocurrencies. XRP was trading very near $2.20 at the time of this release, and there was also a significant correction. Nothing too drastic such as losses of less than 30% in a single day, but a few percentage points down nonetheless, which is still something that merits some consideration. Now, single-family house sales are essentially what I consider to be the granite cracking in a robust economy. Since it's arguably the most significant indicator, I typically use it to predict the direction of the economy going forward. Put another way, it's a worrying indication that the property market is ready to collapse when there are a lot more new listings for properties yet sales are either stagnating or slowing down. Thus, this is what we are witnessing at this moment. By the way, when the housing market crashes, it's likely the bottom of the market, and right after that it's a great time to buy. In February, the number of newly constructed single-family homes for sale jumped to 500,000, the most since November 2007. Yes, that was a fascinating period of time and many of you will likely remember it. Now, in 2007, the market was just about to peak, and naturally, the banks began to fail very rapidly after the new mansion was revealed. Similar pressure appears to be on the banks here today. Therefore, if this keeps up, we'll need stimulus, quantitative easing and bank bailouts, since many people are falling behind on their mortgages and more individuals are seeking to sell their homes because they can no longer afford to pay for them. Over the past 13 years, the number of new homes on the market has more than tripled from a low of 142,000, at which time the housing market was obviously quite robust. This is by far the biggest supply of new dwellings in history, excluding the housing bubble of 2006. In the meantime, the number of new single-family houses for sale in the South dropped from a record high of 296,000 to 8,000. This is more than the 291,000 recorded in 2006, the year before the start of the property market. Will the property market be seeing price reductions soon? They will be, I think. The Fed needs to start printing money soon, in my opinion. Trump is pleading with the Fed to take action because of this. However, data used by the Fed is only 3 months old. It is a very antiquated system that is incompatible with the modern fast-paced economy. Therefore, something has to change. However, it is evident that China's messaging toward the United States of America is becoming increasingly hostile. And this is the thing that I am personally focusing on the most. China has most recently claimed that the United States is incredibly blatantly dishonorable and that the tariff war will soon backfire. In essence, China is stating that we are far more in need of the United States than the United States is of us. For tens of years, the US has been purchasing our products which we create here. Listen, if you guys decide you no longer want to purchase our things, that's okay too. You're going to experience price increases that you can't currently afford because your economy is on the verge of collapsing. Not exactly the same words. Xi Jinping, the president of China, has been repeating that almost exactly lately. In essence, they are stating that the economy is currently undergoing deflation. Inflation is happening to you folks. If we keep doing this, prices will likely get much worse. Regarding inflation, Trump appears to have a secret weapon, but I'm not really sure what it is. It's possible that Trump will surprise me once more. I've already been taken aback by him a couple times. Notice how inflation figures decreased following the initial few instances in which he, of course, levied tariffs on other countries. Therefore, it's possible that he has something planned here. Perhaps he has some kind of executive order he's going to pass that will regulate prices. Perhaps he has some kind of agreement with these big businesses that will enable them to avoid many of these price hikes and maintain low costs for customers. I'm not entirely sure. However, I would greatly appreciate hearing your thoughts in the comments if you have any other information on it. Based on the present landscape that Trump is promoting, I believe inflation is going to be unavoidable, so I will be monitoring your guys' responses to that. Unless anything else happens, inflation will occur. The US is still unable to produce. They will require some time. Additionally, I think it's great that manufacturing is returning to the US. However, outside of the stock market, that short-term discomfort hasn't been observed all that much yet. Therefore, I'm rather interested in learning when pricing changes will begin. And if paying greater costs means doing business with China no longer, are you guys willing to do so? I truly want to hear from you folks on one more subject. Now, using cryptocurrencies is one possible tactic that the Trump administration has. The Trump administration recently stated that they might use tariff proceeds to purchase Bitcoin. Very intriguing. Therefore, they wish to use tariffs in place of income tax. That's one of Trump's statements. Additionally, they hope to use tariff proceeds to purchase cryptocurrency. Since this is, in my opinion, one of the most fascinating things that has recently come to our knowledge, I would like to play this clip for you all very briefly. Anyway, allow me to play this video. However, I've also heard Nick and others discuss the possibility that we could generate and utilize outside income. So how are you guys thinking about it from a framework perspective? Alright, how can we go about purchasing additional Bitcoin? Senator Lemmas has a really intriguing idea with the Bitcoin Act of 2025, which I know has made waves in the community. However, what you would do is revalue the gold certificates that are currently in the Treasury. I believe the majority of them are valued at about $43 an ounce, which is significantly less than their true value. That's right, indeed, and the price of gold is currently at $3,100 per ounce. You could spend that additional money to purchase more Bitcoin that could be used as the reserve if you stole that value. That's only one idea though. You know that's in circulation right now. We'll have to wait and see how many co-sponsors she can secure and how well she can convince her colleagues to support it. We're considering a variety of innovative approaches, whether they come from tariffs or something else entirely. I mean, there are absolutely innumerable methods to accomplish this. Additionally, I'll let some of our members in the interagency working group come up with suggestions in their own shops. However, we'll examine everything. It's all on the table. We also want as much as possible, as we have stated. Therefore, we will ensure that, as we begin to eliminate some of these procedures, we are looking everywhere. Very intriguing. Therefore, moving away from internal revenue sources like income taxes and toward external revenue sources like stealing money from other countries and engaging in current trade with them in order to increase revenue and possibly even buy cryptocurrency. I think artificial intelligence will play a big role in the future environment, and I think cryptocurrencies will play a big part in what the Trump administration is essentially thinking, in my opinion, is that they will use artificial intelligence to automate as much as they can and try to become as productive as possible as a country. But they will no longer require many of these manufacturing jobs abroad and many other things.